It started with a meeting that wasn't mine, yet somehow, my work was being presented without me in the room. Through the glass wall, the light from the conference table shimmered over the polished floor, casting warped reflections of faces I'd known for years. My coffee had gone cold in my hand. I kept it there anyway. Habit has a way of steadying you when dignity begins to slip. On the wall, slide after slide of my report flashed, charts I had built line by line, data I had shaped like a second language, and Diane's voice, clean and warm, floated across them. The growth trajectory aligns with our global vision, she said. Our team discovered that retention rates jumped nearly 8% this quarter. Our team, 8%. My 8%. Through the glass, I counted the slides as they turned. 1, 3, 5. By slide 11, my name hadn't appeared once. By slide 12, my heartbeat had slowed. It wasn't rage, it was recognition. When the applause came, it was polite, corporate, and clean. Not one head turned toward the glass. Not one person noticed me standing outside, holding the same ceramic mug I had used every morning for 9 years. My name is Caroline. I'm 46, a senior product strategy manager, 17 years with this company, and that was the first time I realized how quiet betrayal could sound. I used to think I was lucky. Not everyone gets a mentor, a guide, someone who says, "Let me show you the ropes." For me, that person was Diane Walters. She was the kind of executive who carried gravity like perfume. You felt her before she spoke. Her office was always cold. The air scented faintly of mint and glass cleaner, and she'd motion for you to sit before you could decide whether to stand. "Caroline," she'd say, brushing imaginary lint from my sleeve. "You have potential. You just need a little sharpening." Sharpening. It sounded like opportunity. I didn't realize it also meant abrasion. I followed her lead like a map. Meetings, tone, timing. She once told me, "In this company, emotion is an accent. Keep yours light." I learned to make my emails colder, my smiles smaller, my words shorter. I called it professionalism. She called it progress. The morning it all began was unremarkable, which is how these things usually start. The elevator chimed open at 6:42 a.m. The 12th floor was empty, still wrapped in its early silence. The carpet held the faint scent of toner and something metallic. I placed my bag on the chair, set my ceramic mug on the desk, and turned on my monitor. The reflection in the black screen caught the skyline beyond. Gray, hesitant, waiting for color. The inbox blinked with 32 unread messages. One of them changed everything. Subject: nomination list for director role, internal candidates. I clicked. The first name: Diane Walters. 2 lines below, under contributors, Caroline H. Supporting data and proposal draft. Supporting. That word felt smaller than it should. Then another email pinged from her. Timestamped 7:01 a.m. You did great work, Caroline. The board loved the concept. You'll be next, I promise. Keep your head down for now. People say betrayal. Sounds like a knife. It doesn't. It sounds like a notification. Ping, ping, then silence. I opened the top drawer and pulled out the cream-colored card I had written last summer. Thank you for mentoring me. The ink was still clear. My handwriting looked obedient. I stared at that card for a long minute. The same way you stare at a photo of someone who no longer exists. Then I placed it back, under the ledger pad where I tracked deadlines and budgets. There was comfort in order. Even heartbreak obeys a structure if you let it. The office began to wake, keyboards clicking, printers sighing, laughter near the espresso machine. I walked past the window wall toward Diane's corner office. Her door was open. As always, inviting but strategic. On her desk sat a vase of white tulips, fresh, expensive, unnecessary. She looked up. "Early as always," she said. "You'll give yourself wrinkles." "Someone has to keep the numbers clean," I replied. "Good answer." She smiled. "Big day today, is it?" She chuckled softly. the way people do when they think you're naive. Caroline, you're not ready for director, not yet. But when I'm in the seat, I can sponsor you properly. That's how it works. Together. Together. The word sat on my tongue like too sweet coffee. By 9:30, the stand-up meeting began. Diane ran it like an orchestra. Short sentences, direct eye contact, applause when needed. Let's recognize our collective effort, she said. The project came together beautifully. And thanks to Caroline for the supporting analysis. Supporting. Again. I smiled. The kind of smile you practice for photographs you don't want to be in. After the meeting, I passed her assistant in the hallway. Congratulations, he whispered. She couldn't have done it without you. I wanted to answer, but my professionalism outweighed my pulse. At noon, I sat in the cafeteria with my salad and my ceramic mug refilled with green tea. The cafeteria buzzed with the white noise of office life, trays clinking, reheated soup, voices threading rumors. Behind me, two analysts whispered. She's a machine, one said. Diane? Yeah, but honestly, Caroline does most of the work. Still, she's the face. The board loves her polish. I stared into my mug, the tea surface trembling slightly from the hum of the refrigerator nearby. Fairness isn't a feeling, I thought. It's a habit. Loyalty is a mirror. Stare too long. And you start mistaking obedience for grace. That afternoon, I opened the project proposal file, Strategy 2026 Final WPPTX, 42 slides, 23 charts, 6 appendices. She had replaced my phrasing with strategic alignment and synergy optimization, buzzwords that meant nothing, but sounded like control. Version history told the truth. 18 M Wednesday, my correction to the cost. Curve, 7:55 p.m. Friday, updated vendor. Metrics, 9:12 p.m. Friday, Diane. Cleaning phrasing, changing I propose, we propose. The strategy proposes. Each revision smoothed the voice until it no longer sounded human. I closed the file and exhaled. Silence can be a ledger, and I had just opened a new account. That evening, I attended my night class downtown, Leadership Ethics and Accountability. The professor, Dr. Monroe, was a gentle man with sharp logic. He said, "The moral injury in business isn't about loss. It's about erosion. It's the slow acceptance that fairness is naive." I wrote it down. Then, under it, silence is not surrender. It's a receipt. Weeks passed. Diane's nameplate gained a small golden border. Her schedule filled with meetings that somehow always required me to prepare her decks. I didn't protest. Not yet. In that time, small things shifted. Clients began emailing me directly for clarification. Could we get Caroline's insight on this? They wrote. The phrase became a quiet anthem. On Fridays, I started posting updates on the company hub. Completed Q2 retention analysis, pledged 8.3% since. April, C attached. Updated strategy, V9C, adjusted forecast by 7.4%. Post-June trigger, each post factual, polite, time-stamped, and undeniably mine. In early July, I took a late elevator down with Rosa, the HR partner. She was kind in that precise HR way, genuine within limits. "You work too much," she said. "Work is quiet company," I replied. She smiled. "You always have your mug. Same one every day." "It's just ceramic." "No," she said, tilting her head. "It's ritual." When she stepped out, the mirrored elevator walls showed me holding that mug like a tether. Ritual, I thought. Or armor. 2 weeks later, Diane stumbled. A client caught a mistake in her presentation. Wrong data month, inflated projection. She called me in, furious but afraid. "Why didn't you catch this?" She demanded. "I did," I said. "You didn't use the updated file." She blinked. "Don't get defensive." "I'm not," I said. "I'm being accurate. Accuracy is what truth sounds like when it stops apologizing." That night, I stayed late. The office was empty except for the hum of the printer and the soft click of my keyboard. The city lights beyond the glass looked like a scattered spreadsheet, cells of light and dark. I opened the deck again. She'd rewritten my sections: risk, potential volatility, uncertainty, growth elasticity, corporate poetry for avoidance. I restored the real language and printed one copy, time-stamped. Then I placed it in the drawer beside the thank you card. Insurance, not revenge. The next morning, she leaned over my monitor. Always the perfectionist, she said. Don't overthink the details. Sometimes the details are the story. Her smile paused just a moment too long. Let's stay aligned. I am, I said. With the facts. By August, the office air changed. People began to notice she talked more and said less. Deadlines slipped through manicured fingers. The interns whispered again in the cafeteria. Caroline's the real strategist. Rumors are just truths with poor posture. Then came the international pitch, a moment too large to fake. The conference room gleamed. Screens ready, cables coiled, water bottles perfectly aligned. Diane rehearsed in the hallway, her reflection sharp in the glass. Let's keep the story optimistic, she said. Confidence sells. She called it confidence. I called it omission. At 9 a.m., the presentation began. London, Berlin, Singapore joined via screen. Slide 3, the outdated numbers. A London partner leaned forward. Are these figures final? Our data show volatility in Q2. Diane laughed. Within margin. Our analyst, Caroline, can confirm. Dozens of eyes turned to me. I stood, steady. Actually, I said, those were preliminary. The latest data show a 7.4% adjustment with 2 variance triggers after June 12th. Here, let me pull up the live figures. The updated slide appeared. Timestamped. Sourced. The correction changes the forecast trajectory by 3/4, I said. It's not margin, it's motion. The CFO frowned. And Diane signed off on this? She signed off on version 8A, I replied. This is 9C. Please send the full set after the meeting, he said. Questions came like weather, methodology, source tracking, risk tolerance. Each one I answered quietly. Precisely. When the meeting ended, applause came my way. Not hers, polite, corporate, decisive. In the hallway, she cornered me. You blindsided me, she hissed. You made me look incompetent. No, I said. The data did that. I just stopped protecting the wrong story. Her eyes hardened. Be careful, Caroline. You're playing a dangerous game. I'm not playing, I said. I'm documenting. That evening, I received an email from the CEO's assistant. Subject: Follow-up. Director Strategy Data Integrity. Please prepare to present an independent review next week. CEO requests you lead the update. Lead. The word hummed in my chest like something earned. Not given. Change doesn't arrive like thunder. It slips in quietly, rearranging small things before you notice. By Monday morning, people spoke to me differently, a little slower, a little more careful, like they were adjusting to a new gravity. Emails began to land directly in my inbox, not filtered through Diane's approval. Meeting invites suddenly had me marked as decision owner. The shift wasn't loud. It was administrative, precise, inevitable. I arrived early as always. The 12th floor was half lit, the city outside still gray with dawn. I poured coffee into my ceramic mug and stood by the window, watching the sun climb between towers. Every morning before this one, I had imagined success as noise, a standing ovation, a headline, something cinematic. Now I understood it differently. Success was silence reclaimed, just breathing. Without permission, at 8 a.m., HR sent a calendar block. Private meeting, 30 mini, CEO and HR partner. Subject line, leadership continuity. That's corporate code for transition. I took my mug with me. Rosa met me in the hall. Deep breath, she said quietly. I'm fine. Of course you are. But still, Deep breath. She pressed the elevator button, then added, "Whatever happens, be kind." The company remembers tone longer than outcome. The meeting was short. The CEO sat with a legal pad in front of him, the kind he used when things were serious. He spoke gently. "We need someone to stabilize the strategy division while Diane focuses on other matters." "Other matters," I repeated. The phrase was weightless but sharp. "You've demonstrated consistency, integrity, and, most importantly, clarity. We'd like you to step in as acting director?" "I see. Officially, we'll review in 6 months. Unofficially, you've already been doing the work." I nodded. "Titles follow truth eventually," he smiled. "I wish everyone saw it that way," Rosa added softly. "You'll be the first woman to hold this position in 12 years. I said nothing for a moment. Then, "Let's make sure it doesn't take another 12. By noon, the office knew. No one said it outright. But you could hear it in the tone shifts, voices softening as I passed, conversations stopping at the right moments. In corporate spaces, silence is the loudest form of acknowledgement. At 2:30, Diane's door closed for what would be the last time. The blind stayed half open, like an unfinished sentence. At 4:00, a facilities manager appeared with a cardboard box and the delicate patience reserved for endings. I stayed in my office. I didn't need to watch. You can respect someone's exit even when they disrespected your existence. Still, I heard her heels cross the hall. A pause outside my door. "Then, you think you won, don't you?" I looked up. "No," I said. "I think the truth finally stopped losing." For a moment, her face softened, as if she saw the younger version of herself reflected back, the woman she was before she learned to call ambition strategy. But she said nothing more. Just turned and walked toward the elevator. When the doors closed, it sounded like a sentence ending. That night, the office air felt lighter. I stayed a little later than usual, reorganizing my desk, aligning folders, deleting duplicates. At the bottom of the drawer, the thank you card waited. Next to it, the printed version of the Real Strategy 2026 file, my version, stamped and dated, proof, quiet, clean, undeniable. I placed my ceramic mug beside the card. It had a small chip on the rim from years ago, but I'd kept it anyway. Imperfect things can still hold warmth, so can people. Outside the glass wall, the skyline glowed blue-gray, one light at a time. The city confessed its existence. I took a sip of coffee, now cold, and smiled. The town hall announcement arrived that Friday morning. Company-wide meeting, 10 a.m. Topic, transparency and leadership ethics. No one said her name, but everyone knew. By 9:45, the auditorium filled with gray suits and polite curiosity. The company liked its scandals quiet and its resolutions cleaner. The CEO opened with his standard speech. "Integrity is the backbone of innovation. Leadership is not just authority, it's accountability." Then he looked toward me. "I've asked our acting director of strategy to share a few words." I stood. My legs didn't shake, my notes were folded once in my hand. I didn't need them. The room was large but intimate, the kind of space where you could hear the air conditioner breathing between sentences. "I've been here 17 years, I began. "I've seen rebrands, restructures, 6 CEOs, and 1,000 slides claiming innovation. But the one thing that doesn't expire is authorship." A murmur moved through the crowd. Faint but alive, I let it settle. Ownership isn't ego, it's accuracy. When credit travels honestly, trust follows. When it doesn't, everything built on top of it eventually cracks. I saw people shift in their seats. A few nodded. Truth has its own sound and it's never loud. For a long time, I believed silence was professionalism, but silence can also be complicity. I paused. Then said, "So here's my fair play rule. If you lead someone, you don't own their light. You help them see where to shine." Silence stretched like breath. Then applause, tentative. Then steady, then unbroken, not the wild kind. The sincere kind, the kind that restores equilibrium. At the back of the room, I saw her, Diane, allowed by HR to attend, sitting in the shadows near the exit. Our eyes met briefly. I didn't flinch. Her expression was unreadable, half pride, half regret, maybe both. When she stood and left, no one stopped her, and that somehow was mercy. After the meeting, people approached in slow waves. Analysts, assistants, even one of the VPs. Thank you for saying that. You said what we've all felt. My work's been borrowed too. Each phrase was a quiet repair. Rosa came last. She placed her hand on my arm. Kind and clear, she said. Just like you promised. Clarity's cheaper than revenge, I said. And it lasts longer. 2 days later, the CEO visited my office. He leaned against the doorway. That speech, people are still talking about it. I just told the truth. Most people don't, he said. You'll make a fine director. I'd rather make a fair one. He nodded. Same thing if you do it right. Before he left, he pointed to my ceramic mug. Still the same one, huh? Always. Good. Keep something that reminds you who you were. Before titles tried to define you. A month passed. The strategy team began. Rebuilding, I made one small change. Every presentation template now had an authored by line beneath the title. Optional, but visible. Within a week, everyone used it. Within a month, HR added it to company policy. Culture doesn't shift from shouting. It tilts quietly toward what's fair. In the cafeteria, I overheard small new habits forming. Did you add Priya's name to the model? Jonah led that slide. Don't forget. Let's check who ran the numbers before we finalize. These were tiny sentences, but each was a victory. The kind that doesn't trend but endures. Sometimes at night, I still stayed late. The office after 9 p.m. has its own soul, machines asleep, air thick with afterthought. The city's lights spilled through the window, scattering gold across the whiteboard, the mug, the edges of my paperwork. I would sit there, fingers on the keyboard, hearing the echo of Diane's old advice. Keep your emotions light. Maybe she was half right. Emotions should be light, but truth should have weight. One night, I opened the drawer and looked at the thank you card again. On the back, under my old handwriting, I had added new words after the town hall. Fairness speaks softly. But it lasts. Beside it sat the mug, small chip, faint ring at the bottom, handle warm from use. I realized the two objects had become my quiet resume. Not of achievement, but of endurance. I held the mug for a moment, then placed it carefully beside the card. Not trophies, just reminders that calm can be sharper than anger. A week later, Rosa invited me to speak at a mentoring workshop. Just talk about what fairness looks like when you're tired, she said. I laughed. That's when it matters most. I spoke to 20 younger women from different departments. They took notes the way I used to, quick, nervous, eager. One asked, how do you keep from becoming like them? I smiled. You don't stop becoming someone. You just decide which parts you'll outgrow. Another asked, what if people steal your work again? Then document it, I said. Don't rage. Don't beg. Just record. Facts are quiet weapons, they laughed softly. But I could see in their eyes the relief of knowing fairness wasn't naive. It was possible. Months later, HR finalized the title change. Director of Strategy, North America, Caroline Hartwell. The same office, the same window view, the same coffee mug on the desk. Only difference, the silence now belonged to me. I thought about Diane sometimes, not with bitterness, but curiosity. Where she landed. What stories she told about this chapter. Maybe in her version, she was betrayed. Maybe that's fair. Everyone narrates from their own survival. The day I officially signed my new contract, I found an envelope in my mailbox, no return name. But the handwriting was hers. Inside, a single sheet, 4 words. You were right, finally. No apology. No emotion. But sometimes acknowledgement is enough. I placed the note in the drawer beside the thank you card. Next to it, the mug, the collection complete. That evening, I left the office late again. The corridors were dim, the elevator mirrors reflecting the quiet version of success. As I waited for the doors to close, I caught my reflection holding that same mug. Faint smile, eyes steady. Down in the lobby, the security guard waved. "Good night, Director." I nodded. "Good night." Outside, the air was cool and real. I walked past the glass facade, saw my own reflection framed against the office lights above. For once, I didn't look smaller. I just looked equal. At home, I poured the last of the coffee, rinsed the mug, and set it beside the sink to dry. On the counter, my phone lit up with a new email notification. I didn't check it. Not every ping deserves attention. Instead, I leaned against the counter, eyes closed. The rhythm of the city faint through the window. Balance, finally, had no sound. I didn't need revenge. I needed fairness. And fairness, I learned, doesn't shout. It endures. That was my story. Where silence became strength, and justice didn't need to shout. Subscribe to Office Revenge Files for more stories where women turn quiet lessons into lasting power. Because sometimes, the quietest voice in the room is the one that changes everything.